Hi guys, welcome to From My Lens. Today's podcast is called The Digital Future, and I have a special guest who will share her expertise. Shraddha Gupta is a design enthusiast and an end-to-end product designer currently based in Toronto, Canada. She is curious right brain with a high level of empathy in everything she does. With her background in fashion design and a master's in journalism, she was lived, studied, worked in 5 different countries, having an acute understanding of global culture, people, lifestyle trends, and human interaction with various facets of design. From 2017 to 2019, she was a design faculty in a top design university in India, which not only helped her become a better speaker and a motivator, but also gave her the opportunity to open her mind to an entirely different generation of thoughts, new ideas, and aspirations. Welcome to From My Lens, Shraddha.
Hi guys, I'm really excited to be here, and yes, I'm Shraddha Gupta, and let's get started.
All right, thank you. So just to start off with the digital future, now, how are you doing, first of all, with the current situation, and what are you doing during this lockdown to be more productive?
So I'm currently in Toronto, Canada, and I moved very recently in November 2019, and the whole COVID-19 thing happened right here at the end of February. So the lockdown, it's been like 5 months since the lockdown has happened. And yes, most of our work has shifted work from home, and hardly people are going out. And what I see every day is that mostly, the restaurants were closed, the parks were closed, or our public spaces were closed. And I thought that it was really important at this point to keep a positive headspace.
Right.
With so much happening around the world and so much happening in terms of life situations, and so much with climate change and the pandemic in general, I felt that there was a huge need for people to be stronger than ever, and also to, just keep a positive mindset and, count their blessings.
Yes.
So for that, I have been having a healthy, at least a basic exercise routine. And more than that, I also thought that I'd use my quarantine time to be a little more productive in terms of a skill building. So I was anyways in the process of looking at design with a different, as you say, with a different career trajectory or a different lens. And then I just realized that why not use this time to do a little course. So very recently, I did a UX UI course.
Yes.
In design for 3 months, which was pretty much throughout my quarantine, and that's what kept me productive most of the times. Yes.
Awesome. As far as I remember, you used to be a design student. We both went to fashion designing school. I remember you also went to London College of Fashion. Now, from being a fashion design student or even a designer right after that, what was your motive in change of career? Walk me through that process.
So just to walk you through my career journey was, so we both went to school together back in 2005 to 2009,
yes.
Which was back in Delhi, in National Institute of Fashion Technology. We both were studying fashion design.
Yes.
And I know around the 4th year, the final semester of our course, I realized that I didn't want to make clothes, which was very sudden, and then I realized I wanted to write instead. So at that point, I started looking for our master's course, and I applied for a course called Fashion Media and Lifestyle in London College of Fashion.
Okay.
And I got through 2009 and 2010. I was there in London studying fashion media. I came back to India and I joined a magazine, and I started working with a fashion business magazine for almost 5 years. And I was working both out of India and Bangladesh for the magazine. I was doing a lot of trend forecasting, runway reports, fashion features, photography, a lot of styling,
Wow.
putting editorials together.
Right.
So it was an exciting job, and it was like an exciting learning experience. It was a media role in fashion. I was enjoying all of that.
Now,
But
was it something like, was there a lot of pressure? Because I remember when I had interned for Vogue and Marie Claire, I felt slightly pressurized with the whole glamorous world. How was your experience handling that?
So I was more on the fashion business side of it, and I think that came with its own pressures. Like, for example, the magazine was a fortnightly magazine, and when you work in a magazine, of course, you have deadlines and you have deliverables, which you have to keep up to. So there's definitely a lot of pressure in the field to perform and to deliver on time. And but at the same time, it was exciting. We were doing something new every issue. We were creating something new every time. And every time we would look at a fashion show and we would make a trend report or do some sort of trend forecasting. It was so exciting to see the future of fashion and to put it all together. So I think it had its pros and cons, but at the same time, it was a very exciting journey, but definitely a lot of pressure, as you said.
Amazing. And so right after Bangalore and India, just going back and forth there, how did Boston come about? Because I remember you moving to Boston.
Yeah, so I worked for the magazine for around 5 years, and then in 2014, I got married and I moved to Boston with my husband where he was working. I was interesting because, again, it was like moving from India for the first time to the US.
Yes.
And I obviously was looking for career opportunities there because at that point I thought that is where I will be for good. And when I started applying for jobs, I realized that if you want to be in the States working, you also need to have a degree from the States.
Right.
And when I started looking at my career options and education options, I started looking for masters. But then I realized that I've already been to fashion school twice.
Yeah.
And both were top universities back in India and London. And I didn't see a reason why I had to study fashion all over again after having an experience in it for 7 years.
Definitely.
Almost. So I thought that I've been writing for so long. So I thought, why not do a master's in journalism instead? And strengthen that field, which I had on my resume, but a little more academically. So I started applying for colleges, and yes, I got through the journalism course in Boston University, and I enrolled for it. From there, I did a lot of political journalism. I studied business journalism. I, in fact, did a lot of photojournalism there too. So, yeah, it was an exciting journey. It was different to study journalism in the States. It was a different set of rules, and it was a different set of ethics. And of course, it's an exciting space to be studying journalism in the States, where freedom of press is a part of your constitution.
Yes.
So
where did you do your master's?
At Boston University.
Oh, nice. Very good. And I also remember just going through your bio, you had also interned for Harvard University. That's incredible.
Yeah, so that was an opportunity that came along while I was at Boston University. I got a Harvard correspondent position for 6 months at Harvard with the Harvard Gazette. And it was more like a BU intern working at Harvard, and I was all around the campus doing features around the Harvard Live, covering the Harvard campus and doing stories around the Harvard Gazette.
Yeah.
So that was a different experience altogether, just to experience that kind of university life and to see what Harvard is from the inside. Definitely it was a breakthrough point in my career, which I still cherish and remember.
That's honestly something definitely to cherish. Also, moving from a different country, being an Indian girl, how did you adapt to the Western culture coming from, Indian family, and especially when you moved to Boston for the first time, like officially?
Yeah, I think our choice of city was really helped, because I don't know how it would have been in a different city for sure.
Yeah.
But Boston being mostly, the town for so many different universities, one of the best universities in the States, It's definitely very multicultural. It's a student town also, and there are people from different cultures all studying and, going through their careers in Boston. So I think the city made it very easy for me to adapt into the Western culture because in terms of food, in terms of lifestyle, Boston in itself was a very multicultural place to be in. So I didn't see the shift as very, I don't know, it didn't come as a cultural shock to me.
Yeah.
In fact, it was very, very multicultural for me.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the experience. What I felt was different was the infrastructure as compared to coming from India and living in the States. The quality of life and general how the trains work or how the roads work, or people don't really honk on the roads and different little everyday
it wasn't as chaotic as like somewhere like India or whatnot.
It wasn't a very chaotic place. It had its systems, and the parks were beautiful. Things were well maintained, and, everything has a system and a process in place. So it was an easy adaptation. I wouldn't mind that adaptation at all. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, how did you get started with blogging and UX design and UI and illustration? How did you get into the whole digital aspect of all these design work?
Yeah, so just to I don't know, for everybody who's listening here, just to give you guys a little bit of perspective, when Gargi and I went to college, that was back in 2005 to 2009, right? So most of the fashion that we used to do was pen and paper and done by hand. And that time technology was still coming up. We hardly had any computers on the campus.
Yes.
And whatever we had was like almost just laptops trying to figure our basic, Photoshop, then our basic CorelDRAW in place for a very basic printing of a portfolio. And digitally, the world was still coming up. So my education was back then, and I feel that design in general is one field that really adapts and really changes every 2 years. It's an ever evolving field, and the way technology has changed it and the way technology has made it just so much faster. I think it is very important for somebody from the design field to adapt to a digital level, because most of the design done today is actually digital. And most of the articles that you write, for example, you're doing it digitally on your laptop. You're blogging, which is a digital platform. You have websites and you have mobile apps for your ventures. You cannot just, even if you're a fashion store, you cannot just rely on just a brick and mortar store and think that your sales will come in like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to have a mobile app. You need to have a blog. You need to have a website. You need to have some sort of, engagement. You need to have an Instagram account, a Facebook store. So the way the world is moving, I think generally it is very, very digital. And for that, adapting is very important. And throughout my career of the last 10 years, I learned the digital aspects of it as I went along. So first I started with blogging, which was back in 2012, and that time blogging was still coming up. I still remember I used to look up to a blogger known as the Sartorialist, and he was just my favorite, and he was doing all the street photography.
Definitely. He's just the god of all the photographers.
Exactly. And whatever he used to do was so aspirational for me.
Yeah.
And I thought, why not open a blog? And that time I was working in the magazine, but I wanted to write about travel. And the magazine did not have a travel section. So I just thought that why not open a blog where I can actually write about my travels. And it could be like my space to put everything that I want digitally and start sharing it with the world.
What's your blog?
So that's how blogging.
What's your blog called? Sorry?
The blog is called streettrotter.com.
Okay, great.
That's a little tongue twister there. It's streettrotter.com.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so I started the blog, and what started as a travel blog, it was more like a personal thing. But today, Street Trotter, thankfully, is a travel design and cultural magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of contributors are there, people from all over the world write on it, and it's an exciting space which I have continued to curate over time. And yes, it's been 8 years that I've been doing that.
That's amazing.
But along that, I have always had a permanent job.
Yes.
So I also went into illustration, and I adapted to the iPad and the iPad and applications like Procreate, and I started illustrating whatever I used to do with hand. I started doing it on the iPad,
right?
Because I just realized that is where the world is moving. You know, just making something on paper and scanning it was not working anymore, because you see everybody, getting out from who's much younger to you and getting out from design schools, and with more technology in their hands and more accessibility to all these programs and all these gadgets.
Yeah.
So it was really important for me to transform my illustration skills to a digital level as well. So I started using the iPad. I started doing a lot of things on Procreate. I started doing a lot of things digitally in terms of typography and illustration.
Got it. Now, sorry, now Procreate, so it's called Procreate, right?
Yes, it's called Procreate.
And sorry, go ahead.
It's an app for the iPad, and it's an illustration app that you can use just with the pen to illustrate digitally.
Okay, great. And is that something that is just covered by Apple, or even if somebody who's a Windows user, can they use that particular app?
I think it's just an iPad app for now.
Okay. So it's not covered by Windows or any other companies?
I don't think so, but I'm not really sure.
Okay. Cool. And and for those who are listening and they want a career change, what should they do, especially when they're kind of struggling right now with their career, those who have either been laid off, lost their jobs? What do you think they should do at this point, especially those who are looking to get into the world of digital design?
So I guess at this point, one of the advice that I would give everybody listening is that you have to see what your past experience and career has been like. And then you have to see if you can do some sort of skill building around that area. Because very recently I did a course, as I mentioned, in UX and UI design. And when I was looking for jobs in Toronto, I realized that most of the content jobs or the design jobs that I was looking at, every job requirement said that it'll be nice to have a knowledge of UX and UI.
Definitely.
But UX and UI is something that just came up very recently in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So there is no way for somebody like you or me who graduated 10 years ago would even know that this would happen, right?
Yeah.
So the market will definitely get very competitive, and it'll be nice for people to have some sort of updated skills on their profiles and resumes. And I also think that this whole quarantine time and lockdown time is a good way of looking at it. And by no means I feel that the quarantine time should be very, very productive, and I don't think people should have pressure on them to, learn something new or do something with their lives.
Absolutely.
I definitely believe that if you really want to take it slow and if you just want to relax and take it easy, because it's a difficult time for everyone, you can totally do that. But at the same time, if you can use this time also for some sort of skill building, looking at your career and also looking at the job market, it's a good resource to have.
Right. And what were like some of your success and struggles that you had to face during your career path?
I think the successes were many because I went to some really great schools and I worked with some really great companies, and I have had the privilege or the opportunity to be in different countries and interact with a lot of different people and have a career which is all over the world. So personally, I think it was a very growing experience for me. and I learned a lot. I traveled a lot. I looked at a lot of places. I made friends all over the world. I have worked in different cultures. So I think personally that was a very fruitful experience.
Right.
In terms of struggles, I feel that every time you move to a new country, looking for a job there is tough.
Yes, definitely.
Relocating is tough.
Yeah.
Putting your, like packing up everything and relocating to a new house, to a new career, to a new culture is tough. And every time you move to a new country, you always have different set of rules. You have different hiring processes. You have different expectations in the job market.
Yeah.
So adapting to that again and again was, I think, something that just came up a lot of times in my career, and those were one of the struggles that I kept on.
Right. And I think, yeah, and I also think like struggles are important to grow in life, and without the struggles it's really hard to kind of adapt, not even adapt, but like oversee what your strengths are, to even inspire you, because a lot of our struggles becomes our inspiration and transforms into strength, right?
Yeah, I totally believe in what you're saying. Without struggles, you wouldn't even push yourself to learn something new. You wouldn't even push yourself to get out of your comfort zone of what you're doing. I know people who are so comfortable in their careers for a really long time that they haven't like really gone out and see that how much the world is changing on an everyday basis. And I think once you start struggling in your job or struggling in a situation, and it pushes you to learn something new, which is also, a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely. Now, what were some things that inspired you along the way?
I think a few things that really, really inspired me was different countries.
Okay.
A lot of travel, meeting a lot of new people who had crazy level of new skills.
Mm-hmm.
And generally understanding what culture is like, and how Toronto is very different from living in the States, is very different from working and living in India, and how whole culture of product is very different from India as compared to Bangladesh, or how London was.
Right.
So I think one of my biggest inspirations has just been these places and all these multicultural experiences that I've had. The best things in life come with a little bit of risk, and a career change is always a jump that you have to take. Like, it's literally like a leap of faith that you do in your career, right?
Right.
And as I said, the world is changing really, really fast, and for all those people who have been rethinking their decision of a career change, I would say from my experience, I totally go for it, and at least give it a try.
Right.
I know a lot of people that it has worked out wonderfully for them. I know a lot of people who have learned from the experience. I know a lot of people who tried it and it didn't work out, and they learned something new altogether from that experience. So with the way the world is moving, like, who knew the pandemic would happen? Who knew the world would shut down like that?
Yeah.
Who knew we won't be taking flights any
all
longer,
of a sudden,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So the way we don't know so many things about the climate or what's happening with our lives in general in 2020, you can take a few risks with your career as well, and you can always do a little bit of skill building. You can always learn new softwares. Nobody is stopping you from it. And there is so much on the internet available these days. There are tutorials on YouTube. There are so many free workshops.
Like what?
You just go to
can you give us an example? Like what or references? What websites should they refer to or look at? What sites?
You can definitely go on Medium and read articles about your industry, right? You can always look for a masterclass. Masterclass has a lot of has a lot of workshops going on. You can always go on Skillshare for that matter, and you can look at different classes that are being offered on Skillshare. You can always go on LinkedIn and do like a little bit of hashtag search and see what professionals are in the area talking about. There are these free webinars that are happening in every industry. I think it's more of how updated you're keeping yourself.
Yes.
You just have to put yourself a little out there. You just have to make sure that you are using the internet as a resource to find out as much in your field as possible. There's always YouTube. There's always like a search bar on Google. You can always go and see if you can find a free tutorial for, an app that you want to learn or a software that you want to learn. You can always go in the help section of, let's say, Photoshop or Procreate or, Adobe Sketch, and you can always learn the software yourself. There's nobody who's stopping you to learn the digital world, and I think the more you're out there, the more you're doing and learning through your hard work, the more you will learn. I really think that you don't really have to wait for a teacher to come and tell you that, okay, this is the right way of doing it, or I'm going to sit and teach you this. The internet is a huge ball of resource right now.
Definitely.
And you can just go out there and you can just try out new things. And honestly, very, very honestly, even if you fail, it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Exactly.
People all over the world are trying out new things. People all over the world are trying out new things with their career, with their lives. And nobody is sitting there to judge you.
And what skills do you think somebody should have, especially if they want to tap into the digital world? What should they already have? So it just makes the process a bit more easier.
I think a few skills that you should already have are, you should be coming from a design background. And if you're not from a design background, I want to tell people that nothing is stopping you. You can always learn design, as I said, online, through classes or through a workshop or through a webinar. You can always take a course in design thinking. You can always take up these short courses or boot camps in design process. You can always learn these things. But if you do come from a design background, and if you do have a knowledge of creating design through hand, it's definitely a plus, because then you just have to learn how to do it digitally on a software.
Perfect. And right. So I also remember you telling me that you recently completed your UX and UI design. So you are now certified digital designer, if that's what you call it. Where did you get your certification from, and how did you go about doing that?
So I did a 3-month bootcamp diploma with BrainStation Design Academy. It's based out of Canada. I did it in Toronto, but there's another campus in Vancouver, and they're opening up soon a campus in New York, I heard. So it's definitely a very aggressive course, but because of the whole lockdown situation, my course from a full-time on-campus thing was moved to a remote opportunity that we had, and now I think they will be looking at more online remote courses as well to move forward. So it's definitely an opportunity for a lot of people to look at these courses. It was very intense, but at the same time, it was a great learning experience, and yes, a lot of good education, a lot of good feedback, a lot of good mentorship came out of it, and I feel I'm industry ready.
Amazing. Good. Well, congratulations. It's definitely not easy, especially kind of doing the whole boot camp virtually, because sometimes we need to be around people. We need to be able to get that support and guidance, right? That we don't often get virtually. So definitely hats off to you for doing this full time for 3 months. And can people do this part-time as well? If they have other work that they're doing, can this be done part-time with BrainStation?
Yes. Yes, it can be done part-time. They have short courses part-time, which are more evening, and they're meant for people who have day jobs. So yes, there's a lot of opportunity in part-time as well.
Okay, great. Now, where do you think our future is headed in the digital world?
I think digitally the world is moving way faster, and I think the whole pandemic has proved it, because how all these memes are going around where that meeting could have been just an email per se, right? So, and how we always thought that we have to be in an office space to finish up something, but then a lot of people are working from home and they are being equally productive or more productive also in the case of some companies.
Right.
So I feel that the pandemic has proved that digitally the world is connected in a much bigger way than we anticipated it was. And a lot of things will move online, a lot of things will move digital, a lot of brands and a lot of design ventures will be thinking about how to adapt digitally, either through a mobile app or through a website or through an Instagram account, or how to turn their sales from just walk-ins to to a more of a digital opportunity. So there's a lot going on there. A lot of brands are
and also yeah, and I also feel that the world is also becoming very sustainable in terms of pollution, environment. You're not using that much of your car anymore to go to work, and the rent on office. So I think all of that is and I think all of that is definitely to really consider. So you're definitely becoming a bit more eco-friendly and more sustainable.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Digital has its own pros and cons, and
Definitely.
I think it has a lot of pros, and people are pivoting and companies are looking at how to use the digital future in a much more beneficial way for the planet as well.
Absolutely. And just closing off this podcast, I would like to ask you, what impact would you like to make in this world?
I want to make good design, and I want to make design which helps solve people's problems. And I look at design very passionately, and I feel that the kind of impact that I want to leave is that I really want to bring about certain changes. Those changes could be like really, really small. I have been a design faculty in the last 2 years, and I have worked with the Gen Zs, and I have worked with a lot of new ideas and a lot of new inspirations.
What is Gen Z? Sorry, for those of who don't know what that is.
So they are a generation which is between 18 to 25, born in the late 90s, and right now enrolled in universities.
Okay, great. What impact would you like to make in this world?
I think the kind of impact that I want to leave is I really want to make a difference,
and what difference is that?
Has to be like really, I wouldn't say that the difference is really huge. Small differences in terms of design, in terms of creating solutions that really help solve people's problems, that makes our lives better. It could be like a sustainable solution, it could be a simple design solution, to get the world back in place. I really want to think about what kind of world we are leaving behind for our children, and if I can contribute in a positive way in that journey.
Perfect. No, that's amazing.
It was really, really exciting to catch up with you after such a long time, and also share my journey and talk to people about how the future is definitely digital as I see it. So yes, it was an exciting conversation. Thank you a lot.
Wow, that was a lot of information. Thank you so much once again, Shraddha, for sharing your views and knowledge with the world. And if you are looking to start a new career in the digital world, I hope this podcast helps you get started with your journey. And I would definitely recommend following her for more updates and insights on the world of digital design. I hope you have a wonderful week, and see you next time. Bye now.